Ted stood on the cobblestone street, the chill of the morning air wrapping around him like a worn-out blanket. His hair was a wild tangle of grays and browns, and his beard was unkempt, flecked with remnants of meals long past. Yet, despite the grime that clung to him, there was a flicker of resilience in his blue eyes, a glimmer of hope that fought against the weight of despair. Today, he felt a desperate need for connection, a small spark of humanity in a world that often felt cold and indifferent. He shuffled forward, his worn shoes barely making a sound against the stones, as he approached the imposing figure of a royal guard standing stoically at his post. The guard, clad in the familiar red tunic and towering bearskin hat, was a symbol of strength and unwavering duty. But Ted saw something different. He noticed the guard's eyes, which held a depth of understanding that transcended the rigid exterior of military discipline. The crowd that had gathered around the castle was an eclectic mix of tourists and locals, their faces a tapestry of curiosity, indifference, and judgment. Some were snapping photos, their laughter ringing out like chimes, oblivious to the weight of the moments unfolding before them. Before the voices of the crowd could drown out his courage, Ted cleared his throat, his voice barely above a whisper. "Excuse me, sir," he stammered, his heart racing as he met the guard's gaze. "Could you spare a bit of change? I'm really hungry." The words felt heavy, laden with years of struggle and pride. But he pressed on, hoping for a sliver of compassion. As the guard shifted slightly, the crowd held its breath, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Would he turn his back, maintain the facade of indifference that so many had come to expect? Ted's heart sank as he prepared for rejection, but to his astonishment, the guard leaned closer, his voice low and calm. "Wait here." Before Ted could fully process what was happening, the guard stepped away, disappearing for a brief moment into the background of the bustling crowd. Murmurs erupted among the onlookers, some incredulous, others skeptical. Could a royal guard, a person of authority, really show such kindness? Now, before we dive deeper into this unexpected encounter, I urge you to take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us and is the lifeblood that keeps these incredible stories of humanity, kindness, and connection alive and reaching more hearts. So please click that subscribe button now. As Ted stood there, the seconds felt like hours. He felt vulnerable, exposed under the scrutiny of the crowd, yet there was an inexplicable warmth blooming in his chest. Hope, an emotion he had almost forgotten, flickered like a candle in the wind. Would the guard truly return? Would he bring back something tangible, something that might ease his gnawing hunger? The crowd began to whisper, their conversations fluttering from skepticism to intrigue. Some speculated about the guard's actions. "He must be breaking protocol," one woman said, her voice laden with disbelief. Another chimed in, "It's just a sandwich. He shouldn't be doing that." But Ted, absorbing the murmurs like rain on parched earth, felt a strange sense of unity with the guard, as if they were both fighting against a tide of misunderstanding that often swept through the world. Moments later, as if summoned by the collective energy of the crowd's anticipation, the guard reappeared. He approached with purpose, a small package clutched in his hand. The sight of it sent a jolt of electricity through Ted's body. The guardsman's expression remained composed, yet there was a softness in his eyes that spoke volumes. "Here," the guard said, extending the package toward Ted, his voice steady but kind. "It's not much, but I hope it helps." Ted's hands trembled slightly as he accepted the warm sandwich and bottle of water, the aroma wafting up to meet his senses, igniting a hunger that had been dulled by days without food. "Thank you," Ted murmured, his voice barely a whisper as he looked the guard in the eye. In that moment, an unspoken bond formed between them, transcending the barriers of social status and circumstance. "You're the first to look me in the eye today," he added, a smile breaking through the weariness etched on his face. The crowd fell silent, the air thick with emotion as they witnessed this simple act of kindness. Phones raised to capture the moment. The world outside that small interaction faded away, leaving only the purity of human connection. Ted's heart swelled with gratitude, his spirit lifted by the guard's generosity, a reminder that kindness could still exist amidst the chaos of life. In those fleeting moments, the world seemed to pause, and for Ted, the weight of his struggles felt just a bit lighter. The guard stood tall, his posture unwavering, yet in his eyes was a reflection of shared humanity, a testament that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, deserved compassion. As the onlookers began to murmur among themselves, the message of the encounter began to ripple outward, a wave of understanding and respect washing over the crowd. In the days that followed, Ted would carry that moment with him, and the echo of the guard's kindness would resonate in his heart, reminding him that there were still people willing to reach out, to see him not as a burden, but as a fellow human being deserving of dignity. And as the story of their encounter began to spread, it would touch countless lives, inspiring similar acts of kindness and compassion far beyond the stone walls of Windsor Castle. In the days that followed, Ted would carry that moment with him, and the echo of the guard's kindness would resonate in his heart, reminding him that there were still people willing to reach out, to see him not as a burden, but as a fellow human being deserving of dignity. And as the story of their encounter began to spread, it would touch countless lives, inspiring similar acts of kindness and compassion far beyond the stone walls of Windsor Castle. As the sun rose the next morning, casting a gentle light over the cobblestones of Windsor, Ted found himself awake earlier than usual. The warmth of the sandwich and water from the day before lingered in his memory, a beacon of hope in his otherwise bleak existence. He sat up, brushing the remnants of sleep from his eyes, and looked around at the small enclave where he had made his temporary home. The usual sounds of the street began to fill his ears, the laughter of children, the distant honk of car horns, and the soft hum of conversations drifting past him. Today felt different. It was infused with a sense of possibility that he hadn't felt in a long time. With renewed determination, Ted decided to venture back toward Windsor Castle. The memory of the guard's kindness ignited a spark of courage within him. Perhaps he could do something more than just exist in the shadows of society. Perhaps he could share his story, his struggles, and the humanity that resided within him. The thought of being seen, truly seen, spurred him on. As he walked, he passed by familiar faces, some who had offered a glance of disdain, others who simply looked through him as if he were invisible. But today he held his head a little higher. Approaching the castle, he was greeted by the same eclectic mix of tourists and locals. Many were photographing the grandeur of the building, but today Ted felt a sense of purpose that drew him forward. He stood near the guard's post, his heart racing with anticipation. Would the guard remember him? Would he have a moment to thank him again for that simple yet profound act of kindness? As he waited, a small group of schoolchildren approached, their eyes wide with curiosity. They were a colorful bunch, each wearing bright jackets that stood out against the gray morning. One little girl, her blonde curls bouncing with each step, noticed Ted and approached him, her innocence illuminating the space around them. "Are you a wizard?" she asked, her voice bright and clear, cutting through the noise of the crowd. The question caught Ted off guard, and he chuckled softly, shaking his head. "No, sweetie, I'm just a man who has seen some hard times," he replied, his voice warm. "But I appreciate the thought." The girl frowned slightly, her brow furrowed in concentration. "You look like a wizard," she insisted, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Wizards help people." Her words struck a chord within him. Ted felt something shift deep in his chest. He wasn't a wizard, but perhaps he could be someone who helps people, even in small ways. Inspired by the girl's innocent belief in magic, he took a deep breath, feeling a rush of warmth wash over him. "I might not have magic," he said, leaning closer to her, "but I can share stories. Stories have their own kind of magic, you know." The girl's face lit up, and she bounced on her toes in excitement. "Tell us a story," she exclaimed, turning to her friends, urging them to gather around. The other children joined her, their eyes wide with anticipation. With a gentle smile, Ted began to weave a tale about a brave knight who ventured into a dark forest to save a trapped dragon. As he spoke, his voice grew steadier, more confident, and the children listened intently, hanging on to every word. For a brief moment, Ted stepped into the role of a storyteller, and the weight of his struggles faded into the background. His heart swelled with a sense of belonging, a feeling he had longed for. As the story unfolded, the crowd began to take notice. Tourists paused, some with cameras ready, while others leaned in to hear the unexpected performance. Ted's voice, once shaky and filled with uncertainty, grew strong as he animatedly described the dragon's shimmering scales and the knight's unwavering courage. Amidst the captivated audience, Ted felt a sense of purpose igniting within him. This was his way of connecting, of sharing a piece of himself with the world. As he finished the story, the children erupted into applause, their laughter ringing like music in the air. For a moment, the weight of his existence felt lighter, and the smile surrounding him reflected the warmth he had experienced from the royal guard. Just then, the guard appeared, his tall figure cutting through the crowd with an air of authority. But today there was something different in his demeanor. Perhaps it was the way he observed the scene unfolding before him, or the softness in his gaze as he watched Ted share his tale. When their eyes met, a mutual understanding passed between them, a bond forged in kindness and respect. The guard approached, a curious smile playing on his lips. "I see you found your audience," he said, his voice low, but filled with warmth. Ted felt a rush of gratitude. "It seems I have," he replied, his heart swelling anew. "Thank you for inspiring me to share my stories." The guard chuckled lightly, shaking his head as if he couldn't quite believe the situation. "It's incredible how kindness can ripple outwards, isn't it?" The crowd around them began to murmur, the story of their encounter spreading like wildfire. People pulled out their phones, capturing the moment as the guard and Ted stood together, a symbol of unexpected camaraderie. As Ted basked in the warmth of the exchange, he felt a sense of purpose solidifying within him. Perhaps he could be more than just a man in need. Perhaps he could be a voice for others like him, those who felt invisible or unheard. The realization sparked a new idea, one that filled him with excitement and determination. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. Ted called out to the crowd, his voice ringing clear and strong. The onlookers responded with enthusiasm, their faces filled with encouragement. The day was just beginning, and Ted could feel the ripples of change starting to emanate from that small corner of Windsor. The world was watching, and he was ready to share not just his story, but the stories of many who felt unseen. In that moment, he understood the power of connection, the magic that could arise from a simple act of kindness, and the potential to inspire others. As the crowd began to disperse, Ted felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't merely a homeless man asking for change anymore. He was a storyteller, a symbol of resilience, and perhaps, just perhaps, a catalyst for change in the hearts of those who would listen. And as he looked to the guard, who stood with quiet pride, he knew he would carry that moment of compassion with him, spreading it like a beacon of hope for all to see. With a newfound determination coursing through him, Ted turned to the guard once more, a spark of inspiration lighting his blue eyes. "You know," he said, his voice steady, "if we could share more stories like this, maybe we could change how people see each other. We could remind them that kindness exists in unexpected places." The guard nodded, the weight of Ted's words resonating with him. "You're right. It's about connection. You've shown everyone here that even in the toughest times, we can reach out to one another." As the crowd began to disperse, those who had gathered lingered a little longer, some even sharing their own stories of hardship and hope. Ted listened intently, his heart swelling as he realized the power of their shared experiences. Each story was a thread weaving them together, creating a tapestry of resilience that painted the reality of their lives. Inspired by the connection forming among the onlookers, Ted decided to take a step further. "What if," he proposed, looking around at the faces that had turned toward him, "we create a storytelling circle, a place where anyone can come and share their tales of struggle, of triumph, of kindness. We could meet right here, under the watchful eyes of the castle. Maybe we can inspire others to show compassion, just like the guard did for me." The guard's eyes widened with surprise, but a smile crept across his face. That's a brilliant idea, Ted. I'd be honored to be a part of it. We can make this a regular event, something that brings people together. Momentum began to build. The little girl with the curly hair jumped up, her enthusiasm infectious. "I want to tell stories too," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Can I come every time?" "Absolutely," Ted replied, laughter bubbling up from within him. "Everyone is welcome. We'll create a space where every voice can be heard, where everyone can feel valued." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over Windsor, Ted felt a sense of warmth spread through him. It was as if the universe was affirming his newfound purpose. The crowd, once filled with skepticism, was now buzzing with excitement and anticipation. People began to exchange contact information, eager to spread the word about their first storytelling circle. Days turned into weeks, and the storytelling circle blossomed. Every Saturday, people from all walks of life gathered, sharing laughter and tears, tales of loss, and stories of hope. Ted became a guiding light in this community, his humility and compassion inspiring others to open up about their own struggles. The guard continued to stand by Ted's side, offering support and encouragement. Together, they forged a bond that transcended their initial encounter. Each week, he would stand at his post, a steadfast presence, ready to welcome everyone to the circle with a nod of acknowledgement. Ted's journey had come full circle. The man who once felt invisible had transformed into a beacon of light in a world that often overlooked those in need. With every story shared, he felt the weight of despair lift, replaced by a profound sense of belonging. The castle, once merely a backdrop to his struggles, became a symbol of hope and unity. As the storytelling circle grew, it caught the attention of local media, and soon Ted's story was shared beyond the cobblestones of Windsor. Articles and videos captured the essence of what they had built together, a community united by kindness and the power of storytelling. The ripple effect was undeniable. People from neighboring towns traveled to witness the magic of the circle, bringing their stories and experiences. Ted received letters from individuals who had been inspired by his journey, each one reinforcing the belief that even the smallest acts of kindness could create monumental change. One chilly evening, as the storytelling circle gathered for their weekly meeting under the twinkling stars, Ted stood up to speak. The crowd hushed, eager to hear his words. This circle began with a simple act of kindness from a royal guard, and it has transformed into something extraordinary, he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "We are proof that every person has a story worth telling, and every story has the power to heal. Let's continue to share, to listen, and to uplift one another." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing into the night. In that moment, Ted knew that they had created something lasting, an enduring legacy of compassion that would ripple through their lives and beyond. As the evening drew to a close, Ted looked around at the faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. Each person here, each story shared, was a testament to the strength of the human spirit. He had not only found his voice, but had also helped others find theirs. And as the guard stood at his post, a proud smile on his face, Ted realized that they had together crafted a beautiful narrative of resilience, community, and unwavering kindness. A story that would continue to inspire hearts long after the sun set on Windsor Castle.